Like, I know in my heart of hearts, there's no way in hell I'm going to be doing this kind of work. Good morning. Today is day 35 of the 365 day challenge. Today is actually Wednesday, February 4th. And today work should still be pretty heavy, but I think I could get away at lunchtime and go. I have a small window that I can get away and go to the gym. So I can at least get 30 minutes in for sure today. So I have no excuse. So if I do 30 minutes, then I have a few minutes to grab some lunch if I feel like it. I might get it after. Either way, I got a 30-minute window for sure that I can get something in. Last night, before I went to sleep, I was going through my notes app on my iPhone and just kind of cleaning them up, just going through old notes and stuff and seeing what was in there. And it was so interesting to me to see granted, it was a bunch of crap in there, just some little random reminders for myself that I never deleted. But there was some good notes in there. So I'm like, okay, let's talk about one of them. One of them that really sparked my attention was I had wrote down like the timeline of the evolution of what is Jenae Nicole. Probably a year or two ago. Probably. I don't think I've ever talked about the moment that I knew as a young 20-something that I did not want to be a worker bee my whole life. Like, that's what kind of sparked this whole journey. I was going through that note and I saw a little note that I had wrote that was just like, Grandpa, I think I wrote Grandpa factory line. And that story was, I was in my early 20s. I don't even think I was 25 yet. I was working in a plastic factory in it's one of the suburbs of Dayton. And I had been doing plastics from graduating high school from 94. So this was like around 2001, give or take. Let me see. Let me do the math. I'm gonna have to go back to the notes so I had the dates right, because my memory for dates is trash. So 94, then 6 years would have been. So no, that ain't right. Yeah, that could be right. That could be right. That was probably about 6 years in, because I took a year off to help my grandmother as she had a stroke. But needless to say, I remember being on this factory line. It was late at night. I worked third shift. And I was on the line with a bunch of other 20-somethings. And there was one person on our team, and we called him lovingly Grandpa. And at the time, we thought he was old, like 60s at minimum. You know, at that time, I'm thinking he's in his 60s, you know, close to 70s. You know, he had the look, and sorry, like, for context, everybody on the line were Black Americans, right? He's the only one that wasn't. No, it was one girl that was Filipino and one guy that was white, which we call Grandpa. But you know, he was a really sweet old man, Caucasian man. You know, you could tell he had lived some life, right? So we all assumed he was probably late 60s. And I just remember this particular night, we were making baby car seats, right? We took it from all the way from the shell to packaging it on, you know, in the box that you would buy in the store. Like that was the line. It started with the shell on our line, but we also, the company that we work for, produced the shells as well. So my job on the line was to put the brackets. There was like some plastic brackets. It was like 4 brackets where the seat belts come through for the baby car seat. And I had to pop them in hard, right? That first 2 or 3 weeks of doing that, I wanted to quit so bad. But let me stay focused on the story because it hurt, you know, until my hands built up the resistance of popping those things in. It hurt. But either way, so this particular night, I remember, we was slinging them seats out, and he was the last, Grandpa was the last person on our line. His job was to take the completed seat, put it in the box, and put it on the pallet. And then once the pallet was full, he wrapped up the pallet to be shipped out, right? So he was like our final quality control, and he had the responsibility of stacking these pallets. And the pallets stacked like, oh God, he was probably, I'm 5'5". I would say he was maybe 5'3" in height. So the pallet he was stacked was taller than he was, right? But we was slinging these car seats out left and right like we was on a roll, because the more, our pay was contingent on how many seats we produced, how many we actually got out. Like our production affected our pay. Like we got bonuses and stuff. So we working hard. Like everybody on that line had one goal, like to get out as much production as we could every night. And we had a goal every night that we wanted to meet. And if we met that goal, then for the rest of the night we could just kind of take it easy. So at this particular time, it's probably like maybe like 1 a.m. at this time, because we hadn't been on the line long. It was like mid shift. And I just remember us being in a groove, and I just kind of glanced around at everybody as we were working. And I just remember, thinking to myself, seeing Grandpa, like I couldn't quit glancing at him, because I was thinking to myself, God, I can't, physically, I can't imagine doing this job at his age. Like, I know in my heart of hearts, there's no way in hell I'm going to be doing this kind of work. I'm not going to be working that hard in the years that he's in. Thinking to myself that he's in his 60s, probably heading towards 70s. But that was very clear to me that I knew that I wasn't built for this. Like, I'm not doing this. Granted, I was making good money. I lived at home. I didn't have really any bills outside of my cell phone. I think I had bought my F1. I had leased my F-150 at that time. So that was my first big girl car, that I, like a brand new vehicle that I leased with my own money, no co-signer, none of that. And so I was living good. Outside of my car note, insurance, and my phone, I didn't have any bills because I lived at home. But I knew, like, looking at his circumstance, I knew he had children. I knew he had a wife. I knew he lived on the East End. But I didn't know really much about him personally. Like I said, we didn't even know how old he was. But he was a sweet old man. But I knew he is the reason why the whole idea of having something extra, some kind of, at the time I didn't think of it as passive income, but I knew I wanted some income that wasn't dependent on me physically doing something at that age. By that time, I know I gotta have something in place that I don't have to work like this. Because granted, you don't know what life is gonna bring you. You don't know, you could lose your job, you could lose your health. But I knew then and there, probably, I want to say I wasn't even 25 yet. I was probably between 24 and 25. That wasn't going to be my life. So that Grandpa, who we lovingly call as Grandpa, was the impetus for job optional before I even knew what job optional was. But I knew in that moment that there's no way that in my 60s and 70s I'm going to be doing this kind of work, God willing, but whatever I could do in my lifetime that kept me from that. So shortly after that, I ended up becoming a truck driver, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, that was the impetus of this whole journey. I'll have to pull up the dates and put it there for you so you know what's real, but you get the gist. So fast forward several years after all of my iterations of life, and I find out Grandpa had died. died, he was in his 50s. This is at minimum 15 years later. He was in his 50s when he died. He was nowhere near as old as I thought he was at the time. He was a grandfather, granted, he really was. He did have grandkids, legitimately. But just remembering, you know, his hands and his features and how old he looked. Wow. You know, that's just a testament of a hard life, you know, like working hard. And then there's no disrespecting that. Like, there's only honoring that he worked hard his whole life for his family. But, like, it takes a toll. And he looked every bit of 70. And now I'm finding out he was probably younger than I am right now. So, I just thought I would share this journey to becoming job optional is many, over 2 decades in the making. Even before I knew what it was. Don't do it. I see you, don't do it. Alright, well, I'm gonna focus on this road because these people act like they want to do something strange for a piece of change. Alright, bye. The day has not panned out like I intended. It's about 1:30. I have another meeting at 2, so I have a few minutes to walk around the lake a couple of times real quick. I guess I'm gonna have to try to go to the gym tonight when I get off at this point. All right, I'll see you later. Bye. What he got going on? I don't know. But he about to bust a move. I just don't want him busting down on me. He about to do something. It is the end of the night. I am about to check out of here. It has been another long day, if you know what I mean. And I don't have much to add to this day. Like I said, this afternoon, I was able to sneak away and get a 20-minute walk in. But, yeah. The day did not go as planned. Tomorrow, I have hopes that I will be able to get away. But at the end of the day, yeah, tomorrow, for sure, I will be going to either Orange Theory or the other gym at some point. So, I will see you tomorrow on day, is it 36 days? That can't be right. I think it's day 36, yo. We did 31 days, and it's 4 days. Yes, that tomorrow is day 36, yo. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, good night. Bye.